Hi, welcome to Contemporary Tarot. I'm Madeline. I recently got an inquiry about how, if you are a professional tarot reader, how you can clear your mind of the reading after it's been given, so the feedback and images don't keep flooding you, so to speak, over the hours and even days afterwards. And this inquiry got me thinking about talking a little bit more about the challenges and situations faced by the more advanced tarot reader. A lot of these videos are geared a little bit more towards the beginner, but a lot of you are much more advanced, are doing professional readings and or reading for families and friends and co-workers. And so I want to just talk a little bit about these situations, what I've encountered. All of this is just my experience and thoughts and things that have come to me over the years. And I invite anyone to, to share additional thoughts in the comments section and things like that. So first off, I've given hundreds, probably thousands of readings, and I am always a little bit nervous before each reading, before I lay the cards down. And so if you're like me, it never goes away, and I think that means that we are invested and focused and excited about the process. So that always surprises me just a little bit each time. So that question was, how do you stop like having a reading come to you after having given a reading? And in my opinion, this is quite common because you just dive into another person's story. And what I've learned is, first off, I work to consciously forget readings after I've given them. And it's sort of like a mental discipline, or an exercise, like a muscle almost. Because if you do a lot of readings, you begin to carry all of that with you. One practice I use is when I'm leaving a situation, I've given a lot of readings, don't do something right after that. For me, don't do something meditative like exercising or listening to music or walking or driving, because I just keep ruminating. What I find helpful is if I'm driving away, I listen to a podcast, or I engage with a friend, or I do something that occupies my mind. I watch a TV show, or do something that will sort of unplug my thoughts from the insights, because they will keep coming, if you keep ruminating. And again, if you do a lot of readings, it's really a survival technique. That said, there are some readings I've given years ago that I still remember that had such impact, a particular card, a particular moment, and that they have stayed with me, for good or for ill, but that's just the lay of the land. When I give a reading, and when a professional reading, I always share with the client that the reading is private, and I don't share the feedback or what is said with anyone. And if there's like a friend sitting there, I would always try and give them room to let's just do this one-on-one. You have to kind of read the energy of the room, but there really should be one-on-one and private. And one of the most interesting things I have found over the years is that oftentimes I'm not the one doing the talking. People have a need to be heard and to feel vulnerable and to really, in a deep way, unpack their experience to someone who is not judgmental, who is open, will give feedback, but in a sense has no skin in the game, is just there for them. And it really is it's an honor, but it is something I found early on kind of unexpected, as I ended up being much more a listener many times than a talker. At the end of a reading, I invite people to take a photograph with their cell phone of the cards, because this is such a visual medium, and that the pictures, and people really seem to like that, because then later on they can go and go back and refer to it, and then I send them to this channel, if they want further insight into a particular card. But that's also a nice way to sort of end the session. And sometimes you do have to draw parameters to end the session. When there's a bad reading, we all get them sometimes. Either I'm not on my game, the cards, it's like they thunk like stones, and the person is unresponsive, and it's going to happen. It just does occasionally. The more you do it, I have found, and you've probably found, that these happen in a sense less and less, because sometimes that thunk is like the thunk of truth, and there's resistance from the client, and you need to really work through it, and it'll be a more challenging reading, but in the end it can be one of the most rewarding ones. But if you just start someday or some reading you're off your game, you got to forgive yourself and move on. This is not a science. It's a nuanced exploration of helping someone explore their internal landscape. And the message might be that the message is not ready to be communicated yet. So forgive yourself and move on. When someone challenges a reading, it becomes argumentative, resistant, like that. And it's a toughie. My technique is I just read the card and the position, the question, position for what their current situation of their job, and they can argue it away. No, that's wrong. That's wrong. You just gotta, that's where professionalism comes in. Say, okay, well, that's just something to think about and explore. Let's move on. If you feel it's gone, if you're accepting payment and you feel it's really not connected, and they're a little bit hostile or very dismissive, you can, decline payment and say, look, this seemed not to work for you. That's okay. And that makes it, I think, a little bit easier to kind of walk away from it. There was one time I was doing an event, okay, and I did say I don't share things, but sometimes for this channel I'll remove all the identifiers of people and just share a specific, instance. But anyhow, so I was giving a reading, and it was at an event, and the client sat down. And they said, I have nothing to learn from this. I am completely fine in my life. Everything is perfect. But you still wanted the reading. So I was like, okay, great. And so I turned the cards over, and the card for her was the Hanged Man reversed. And it was just perfect, because she was just refusing to look at anything in a new way. She was all tangled up, her hands behind her back, not accepting and being able to look at anything in a new light. She was committed that this could not help her and had nothing to say to her. What are you going to do? Yeah. Working a large event, and if you've done these are really, I love parties. I find them invigorating, and just a lot of client after client coming in, and the energy of the party usually makes people in a more festive mood. So they might be open, and it's generally they'll come in on a lark, and then the tarot takes over, and it's amazing. One method I use, and early on, I was like, how do I organize people to come in? So I just create a list, sign-in list, and people sign in their names, and I allow 10 minutes for each reading. And then when you're done with one client, I just say to them, okay, John, look who's next on the list and go find them. And they will, oh, it's Mary, and they go find Mary and bring Mary over. And that kind of gives the mood of the party, because then they go and they sort of network looking for Mary and bring Mary. And so that's, and that seems to work. And then you have a beginning and end slot to your party. And there will, if the hostess wants one, or host, make sure you get them in early, because oftentimes they'll be very gracious and let everyone else get one. And I kind of hate giving the host a reading at the very end when you tend to be a little bit tired. So just something to think about. This also reduces people waiting in line outside whatever room you're in. And do factor in scoring a break, like after like an hour and a half. I usually work parties in 3 hours. After about an hour and a half, I'll just take a 10-minute break, step outside, just, and then move forward. Another thing is, if you haven't already, if you're a professional reader or giving a lot of readings, you also need to get readings. I would encourage you to find some fellow tarot readers who are as advanced as you are. So you can give each other readings, personal readings, and you aren't the one explaining everything and taking people by the hand and taking them through it. You need the tarot, or I need, well, the tarot to give back to you. That will further, I find that really furthers my understanding and my practice. Personally, I have 2 friends who we meet seasonally, probably every 3 months. We do, a winter, spring, summer, fall major reading. And then I have one other friend that it's a little bit more random when we get together, but we'll do readings then. And these colleagues have been in my life for years and really kind of help balance out me not always being the giver in a sense, but also I can then receive and benefit from the insight of the tarot beyond what readings I give myself. A little thing I would advise, if you're getting money from readings, keep a record. I have a very simple little checkbook that I keep when I keep a record of the income I make. It's wise, tax-wise, and things like that. And it also, I think, gives a sense of professionalism and kind of boundaries around your work, and gives it sort of like a seriousness, which, being an advanced reader, offering readings, you deserve. And finally, I have found over the years there is an ebb and flow to the energy, my work with the tarot. Sometimes it's just like, the feeling you're the star or the high priestess, the empress, or you're on, and it's magnificent. And then the other times where it's very much Knight of Pentacles. It's just sort of a step-by-step plodding sort of practice. And I think both serve a lifelong practice. You can't be 100% all the time. So there's I'm trying to think of anything else. I think that's it. But I invite you to just share, again, if you're a more advanced reader, if you have a question, put it in the comments or something like that. Just share your experiences, because it is. Oh, and you know who you are. I mean, some people, am I ready to be a professional reader yet? Eventually you get to the point where you can give, even if you're not accepting money, you feel confident giving readings to others. And you're never supremely confident, always just confident. And it's more a comfort and a belief in the system and the accuracy again and again, the emotional truth that's revealed. So I hope this helps, and keep up your practice. You're not alone. There are all of us out here doing the work. And one more thing. In these times right now with sheltering in place, you can build like a private Facebook group or something to communicate with other tarot readers. That's another way, or Zoom or something like that. But be safe in your practice. Thank you so much. I invite you to subscribe, and thanks for visiting, and I will see you soon.